It is memory, memory accompanied by music. This is a memory film about Teresa Stratas. She has been applauded as one of the great singing actresses of the day, appearing in all the grand opera stages of the world in most of the great roles. Her passionate, dramatic soprano voice has enormous range. In performance, she has that mysterious glow they call presence. Barely 5 feet and 100 pounds in her mid-40s, she is a magnet of attention. Presence. Her story, as she says, a lifetime each day, of volcanic eruptions of extreme emotions, of ice and fire, of torment and triumph, personal and epic, composed of complex dark silences and glowing arias, a most human outcry, like an opera itself. It is a life, as the Greeks say, sung and lived extraordinarily balanced between the light and the dark, in a unique place, what we might call the Stratasphere.
I was very impressed with her voice, the quality of the voice. She had a very dark timbre. Never had to tell her anything. She's so talented. She goes on stage and just did it. Instinctively, the right thing.
I don't believe that this voice came just suddenly from nothing. Has to be something. Especially today, we recognize that the heredity is the most important factor. The chromosomes that they are in the child, you know, from previous generations. And they can appear in 3, 4, or 5 generations. It's not necessary to be exactly the descendant of the previous generation. We know that. It's atavistic, as we call.
I think I've gone through most of my life trying to find an equilibrium, trying to find some kind of a balance. The great thing in Greek writing is finding the balance. All the great writers, Greek writers and philosophers said that's the key to life, is finding the balance between the light and the dark and not being any extreme. Unfortunately, I still haven't found that balance.
Your first time at the Met, the first time you went on stage, do you remember your reaction that day?
No,
Or,
quite truthfully, I don't.
No.
I think I was so stupid when I came to New York City that I got through those first few years. My sister always, my sister, when she's annoyed with me, said, "Oh, well, you were autistic as a child anyhow." Maybe I went through my first years in New York also being, maybe I'm going through life like that, I don't know. But I don't remember anything about that period. I was so supported by my mother knowing I could do anything that she had brainwashed me. I mean, I didn't stop and think, why, what am I doing singing at the Metropolitan Opera? For as long as she lived. It was after she died that the rug was really pulled out from under my legs, and I thought, oh my God, who am I, this little Greek girl from uneducated origins, background? What am I doing here in this city where they're going to find me out? They're going to find out that I'm really bluffing and I don't know anything about opera or music or art or...
You're doing La Boheme now. It was the first thing you did, right? Am I right or wrong?
Yes, it was the first complete opera I ever sang was Bohème.
So we are completing a cycle.
Yes, we are tying the knot.
And it's being directed by Franco Zeffirelli.
I feel this hand too strong. Remember, she's dying. So she has made the effort, and then she cannot hold anymore. The other hand remains around his neck. He holds it. He holds it himself. But this one, having made the effort, you must drop it and leave it open like this, like that. It will give a feeling of desolation, the last glimpses of life. And also the aria you're singing is very funereal. It really boom, with the beat of a death beat. So, this is last glimpse.
No, let me do that. Let's do it again.
So.
Just again, please.
Just the whole thing?
Yeah.
Mimi dies of tuberculosis. You had tuberculosis.
As a child, I had tuberculosis.
Did it affect your lungs in any way?
It still affects my lungs, yes.
In my house, when I went home, I spoke Yiddish and then English at school. Did you speak Greek?
We spoke Greek at home, yes. Actually, my brother and sister, their very first language was Greek, and they learned English at school. I, because of my brother and sister, of course, already spoke both when I went to school.
Going back to the circumstance of your birth, where was it specifically?
I was born, the place of birth was in a building the corner of Dundas Street and George Street. It was just above a Chinese laundry. I don't think it exists anymore in Toronto. 1938, born on my parents' dining room table, delivered by a drunken Irish doctor that my mother used to say when I was causing some kind of problems. She would say, "Ah, that doctor, he must have dropped you on your head." But I obviously don't have memories there. I have memories later. We moved to 314 Dundas Street. I have memories from there.
What kind of place was that? Is that also above a store?
It was, I remember steps going up, very sort of, what do you call it? They really went up, abruptly up. And at the top of those steps was a flat, and we lived in there. I have a lot of memories from there. I remember, for instance, that an ice truck, we all used to, and I was the youngest one, we all used to run when the ice truck would come. And the older of the mob of the children that lived in the neighborhood would climb up onto the truck and get little pieces of ice. No, I wasn't the youngest, as a matter of fact. There was one child younger than me, and she had wandered out behind the truck, and the truck backed up to drive away, and the child was killed. And I remember that very specifically because, strange how children think. I remember we were not allowed, I was not allowed to go out and play anymore, and I had to stand on the other side of the glass door and look out onto Dundas Street. And I wasn't allowed to go out and play on the street anymore. I had to stay on the inside of the beginning of that staircase that went up and down. There was like a little area on the inside of the door, and the door had a glass, like part of it was glass, and I could just barely see above the glass there.
Was it a kind of Greek area, or were you the only Greeks there?
It was an immigrant area. It was a poor area. It was, at that time, one didn't know they were poor. You know, you lived and you laughed and you cried and you did whatever any other children did.
You didn't know you were poor?
Right. No, I think I was too young to know very much then.
Reading about your mother, she seemed to be a woman of terrific fullness. Can you talk a little bit about your mother? How would you describe her?
May I talk about my father first?
Yeah. How about your father, who is very complex, I think?
All right. I think whatever talent I might have, I get from my father. He left Crete. He didn't have a pair of shoes at that time. He used to go barefoot up and down the hills of Crete. And to leave Crete, to go away and find a better life, he took his dead brother's boots, army boots, wore those. X number of sizes too big. Well, he came from a very, very little village that today still doesn't have electricity. And to get there, it's very steep. The only way to get there is to get on a donkey, and you have to keep going sideways on that donkey to get up to the top. And it's called Stratasphere, which means Stratasphere. He had very, very little education, almost none, what we would today call none. Arrived barely with clothes on his back, and was suddenly thrown into a whole different world at a very young age. He was in his teens. when I think of him leaving Crete with his brother's boots on and going to Canada and raising his family, I really am filled with admiration because I don't know how he did it. I really don't know how he did it and survived at all. And to take that one step further, when I think that my father was in the mountains of Crete in those circumstances, and I, not that many years later, am singing on all the great operatic stages of the world, Metropolitan Opera, etc., etc., that's very hard sometimes all the time, to justify in my mind, because it's such an extreme. My mother was brought over by her brothers to come to the United States. They had then done what we call a proxénat. They had found her a groom and were going to marry her off. And they happened to know my father's brothers that brought him over. And they asked these brothers if they would mind if my mother came into Canada and stayed in their home until they could then bring her into the United States. As a matter of fact, I think the man would have had to go to Canada to marry her to bring her into the States. And they agreed to do this. And my mother arrived in Canada, total strangers, and was staying in the home of my father's brother. You know, all Greek stories sound like my father's brother's uncle's sister because everyone's related. Anyhow, so she was staying with my father's brother and his wife. And this man that was supposed to marry her came to Canada and saw her, and he was an old man. He was a very, very old man. And my mother was like extremely young, in her teens. And on top of it, as the story goes, I think he was a vegetarian, and he was saying, you know, and in my house you can't eat meat, and da-da-da-da, and this is this, and he was laying down the rules. And he left that evening and went to his hotel room, and my mother cried and cried. And my father said, don't worry, I'll marry you, we'll go away, I love you. And when she broke down and sobbed, he rescued the situation.
Mein Herz ist dein,
Was there music in the house? I mean, where?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness, yes. There was a lot of music in the house. The Greeks sing and dance a lot and break plates and all those things that one hears about the Greeks. They're all true. We do break plates. They're not, when we break them, it isn't all so wonderful like in Zorba the Greek when everybody's smiling breaking the plates. Sometimes at the end of a heated evening of dance and song, one is breaking things for other reasons. It's that whatever frustrations that one has danced out or sung out, or happiness that one is expressing, sometimes goes to a more pitched. The Cretans have songs that are typical only of Crete. And there you see, I come from a house of music and poetry, because the Cretans' songs are couplets. They're really beautiful poetry, and they're set to a certain melodic line, and they're made up. They're called mandinades. And one person sits there and makes up the poetry, and the other people in the room, the relatives and the friends, repeat the line. I'll give you an example, and it's typical only of Crete. And you must remember that from very, very little I was brought up on this kind of poetry or this kind of music. I have to think back. And then everyone says, Ella, ella, ta prota scalopatia. Yati, yati safta protopatis, che benista palatia. Yati safta protopatis, che benista palatia. Ella, ella, che benista palatia. Goes on, and then the next person will continue on from there, taking perhaps that theme and giving an answer and saying, but.
What does that mean?
That means very hard to translate because there are many meanings to some of the words. Don't ever forget your first steps. Yati safta protopatis, because on those first steps you walk and enter into your castles, paradises, or goals. In other words, don't forget your origins, because they're your foundations and they're leading you to the better. But I can't really translate it. It's beautiful poetry.
So let's hold on to tradition, too.
Oh, and they had a lot of, they touched on different themes in the course of an evening: love, hate, revenge, death. And then, of course, we danced a lot. We did the Cretan dances and the Greek dances. Part of our life centered around what was happening at the Greek community, and we were also active members of what was happening. We children went to Sunday school and to Greek school in the evenings, and my mother was a member of the Philoptohos, which is the ladies' organization, etc. And we went to the Greek dances, and we marched in the Greek parades, and I sang at, my first appearances were singing at all those Greek functions. I remember, it's very interesting, right from the beginning, that it always was hell to get up and perform in front of an audience. Even as a small child, I remember if we went to someone's home, being absolutely terrified all evening. All that loomed in my mind was, someone might ask me to sing. And I would sit there and prepare myself the whole evening in case someone asked me to sing. And sure enough, I was usually asked to sing. And I was always relieved that people enjoyed it after.
one of the interviews with you said that when you were 10 years old, you felt like you were 100. Why did you feel so old as a kid?
Well, I think because of the circumstances of growing up in an immigrant atmosphere, very, very Greek, hanging on to the Greek traditions, because that's all they had to hang on to. And the Greeks, especially the Cretans from the island of Crete, tend to live a whole lifetime of emotions into each day. I mean, each day you've had your tragedy, you've had your big comic relief. I mean, you have gone the whole gamut of emotions in one day, and we did this all the time. It was a way of life.
I might be a hand fetishist, but I think hands are so fundamental for expressing. You can read the person's mind through watching his hands. So, clinging on his hand, which is an anchor of safety and comfort and warmth and strength, it's life. Then, with a broken wrist, come down like this. Then, with the musical accent, up a bit. Then the other one follows. The other one could be the other way around, like this, like in a prayer, like this. Then you catch up both
Possibly
of
it's
them.
a heredity there, you know. I don't believe that this voice came just suddenly from nothing. Has to be something. Especially today, we recognize that the heredity is the most important factor. The people, they say that there is, when somebody dies, it's supposed to go to another child that is born as the theories they have is not that. Is the chromosomes that they are in the child, you know, from previous generations. And they can appear in 3, 4, or 5 generations. It's not necessary to be exactly the descendant of the previous generation. We know that. Is atavistic, as we call. Now, when I say it's a chromosome, when it was that, I can't see exactly, but I believe that this is something that explains the appearance of artists among people that they are not artists at all, you know, because if really the father or the mother is an artist, it's possible to say that's an education they give early enough to the child, but it's a gifted, the voice is a gift. It's not, you can train the voice, you can make what you like with the voice if you have the gift.
Dr. Polymenakos, as the family physician, you would know, where did it begin?
The mother was very dominant, and she had for Teresa the feeling that she would become a great artist, you know. And she told me one day, I remember well, that when she accomplishes her studies, one day she would be in the Metropolitan Opera. It was predicting that, the mother.
first time you saw the Metropolitan Opera, I think it was in Toronto. How did that happen?
We somehow came upon 2 tickets to the opera. And my brother took me. It was my 16th birthday. And it was at, what's the
Maple
big
Leaf
forum?
Gardens.
Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. We sat somewhere way up in the rafters. And I didn't want to go. I didn't know anything about opera except that it was in a foreign language and rich people went to it and I wouldn't understand a thing and I was going to hate it. And that night really, I suppose, changed the course of my life.
What did you feel when you saw them?
I was overwhelmed. I mean, there was this wonderful story, and sad story, but wonderful, and the sets and the costumes and a whole world and 100 musicians in the pit. I mean, I didn't know it was 100. It looked like hundreds to me, playing this fabulous music. And the most incredible, extraordinary part of all were these people opening their mouths, making incredible sounds coming out of the human body. I mean, I thought that's what I want to do.
Had you at that time had musical training, any professional musical training?
I tell you, when I was 2 years old, my sister tells me that my mother and father had somehow scraped together $75, which was a lot of money in those days, and to buy a piano. And the reason they bought the piano was that my sister had been crying that she wanted to be a dancer and wanted dancing lessons. Now, Mary at that time, if I was 2, she was 5 years older, she was 7. We were living on Dundas Street. And she had 1 dancing lesson. And because we lived up at the top of the flight of stairs, there were people, obviously there must have been doors to the side, that lived downstairs. She had 1 lesson, and that was all, because we would have been thrown out of our flat. So to compensate, my poor sister never became the dancer she wanted to become, but to compensate, my mother and father bought this piano. And as my sister tells me, much to her frustration, a piano teacher used to come to the house and teach her the piano, and she'd spend all week trying to learn that tune. She'd spend all week. And as soon as that teacher would leave, having showed her the new song, and I was 2 years old, I mean, I don't remember this, my sister tells me this, would walk over to the piano and play whatever it was, and she'd feel like murdering me, of course. So this would happen after each piano lesson. I had, obviously, from very young, an ear for picking tunes out of it.
But a piano was an incredible investment
Yes.
for a family that was having trouble.
Absolutely. We were a family of extremes.
But the people...
you know, it was a terrible way of living, and it was a wonderful way of living. I mean, I have the most incredible happy memories, euphoric memories. On the other hand, I have memories that I can't talk about them. They're so horrific.
Is it true that you really wore sackcloth or a flour sack as underwear?
Well, my mother used to make, I think, you know, it was a time of being frugal. And my mother used to make bed linen out of the flour sacks, pillowcases. We used to wear little inside shirts. I had a little inside shirt that said primrose flower across my chest. I used to hate taking my clothes off for gym, as you can imagine, because I had this shirt that said, made out of what? I mean, today it would be very fashionable, of course. My mother was very incredible. I mean, everybody thinks their mother is incredible, but my mother really was incredible. I remember a conversation when I was in the restaurant helping my mother, and one of these Greek ladies came in and said, I don't understand why, I think they were talking about my brother Nick at the time. He's old enough to stop going to school and he could help you in the restaurant. And And look at you, look how you dress, you don't have anything, you don't have any jewelry, etc. My mother said, my children are my jewelry. She was, yes, she was highly ambitious for her children. She was, now one reads all the time in the paper about women with the difficulty of raising a family and having a job also. I mean, my mother did it back then. She ran the house. She organized us for school. She washed our clothes. In those days, they used those scrub boards. And she worked in the restaurant day and night. And in between, I mean, you know, she worked all hours. I don't ever remember seeing her, you know, going to sleep or... I don't ever remember her sitting down and eating a complete meal and saying, and not saying, oh, I feel full, why don't you have the rest of this?
But at some point in your life, apparently when you were a teenager, you found yourself very depressed. According to the article, you tried to commit suicide, I think, yes?
Well, I think I started doing that from very young.
Why did you do that?
Well, as I said before, we lived a whole lifetime each day. It was, you know, everything was to the extreme. Whatever the problem was, it was to the extreme. I mean, if we couldn't pay our bills, and the Greeks are very proud people. I mean, I remember my mother sitting in the kitchen crying over the bills, night after night. I guess at some romantic, young, foolish age, I thought maybe she had one less mouth to feed, you know. But that's not the way it worked.
But
Fate had it, I would stay on.
But you seem fascinated by death, I think, in a way. Is that because of the Greek heritage? Or?
It could be, I don't know. I don't know if fascinated is the right word. Certainly I'm more accepting of it than most people. I mean, most people don't want to know about it or pretend it's not there, or it happens to everybody else and it doesn't happen to them. I think it's something that at this point in my life I'm wise enough to know that I shouldn't push it. I mean, I should really try to hang in there until fate has it that it's time to go. However, when it's time to go, I certainly do welcome it. As, I don't know, I think I see it as a release or a freedom of some kind that I think we're always, I think that's the ultimate freedom.
Some people may just see that as a dark spirit. Would you agree it's a kind of a dark spirit?
You know, there's a wonderful line in one of the operas that I recently have performed. It comes from Lulu by Alban Berg, and the text is Vedekant. He has a fabulous line in there. It's a beautiful musical line, too, as a matter of fact. And who it is not important now, but someone dies, and Lulu says, hat es überstanden, which means he's survived it. He's survived it. He's made it. In other words, we still have the struggle ahead of us. But he's made it. He's at peace.
Lulu was an enormous success in Paris. Does the character of Lulu relate to you personally? some strong way?
Well, I love her very much. I'm very protective of her. I won't let her be that one-sided character. She's a one- or two-sided, faceted character. She's been portrayed for so many years as just a vamp. What is a vamp anyhow? That's boring. She isn't just one color or two colors. She's not a sexual object. She's not just one thing. I think she's all the facets that a person can have in their personality, and I say person, and not female. We tend in our society to peg people as being one thing. Oh, he's neurotic, or oh, he's weak, or he's a vicious person. And it's terrible to generalize like that because people have many characteristics. All of us have. And all of us have the possibility of the spectrum of colors. Whether we develop them or are them is something else. And she is that total spectrum of the personality. And that music, the complexity of the music of Berg, confirms that. As a matter of fact, when I first received the score of the Lulu, I couldn't believe it. It hadn't been printed yet. This is a typical page of photocopy of the manuscript I was sent, from which I should learn the Lulu. Isn't that wonderful? I got terrified when I saw the score and went from pianist to pianist, hoping someone was going to help me learn this difficult music, and I couldn't get anyone to teach it to me. And also try to decipher what the notes are that were on this manuscript. Later, they printed a score of it. And this is what my scores now look like. See all these pages? Pages and pages of music. This is what one of my scores looked like after I'm finished working with it.
Is all that's still in your head?
You see? I've raped it and loved it and killed it, and it's killed me, and we've had our battles and whatever else. Yeah, I suppose it is. I don't know. I guess we have a lot of little doors up there, and we close some of them occasionally, and we open them, and hopefully the right information will come out at the called time.
She had an instinct for singing. She had an instinct for expression, for emotion. You know, when she sang something, she was always very emotional, sometimes too emotional. I remember we had a performance in Bohème, and in the third act, the scene between Rodolfo and Marcello, there was a duet, and she was hiding in the back and listened to it and heard that she is so sick. She started to cry. And when she came then and sang, you could hear that she cried. She was very emotional.
Irene Jessner was my first and only singing teacher. Thank heavens. Because the one thing she taught me, and the most important thing she taught me, was that singing was a natural thing. And one shouldn't do any sort of, you know, I've come to New York and everyone has a method and a technique, and what technique does your teacher teach? And this one teaches to breathe with this muscle back here, and this one, and some teachers tell their pupils to smell a rose, and someone else sticks a pencil in their mouth, and all kinds of weird things. She taught me to sing naturally, and for that I truly thank her.
I was very impressed with her voice, the quality of the voice. She had a very dark timbre. Oh, she sang as like somebody sings who never had any lessons, and she never studied before. And when she came to me, she didn't know anything classical. She sang something like "Smoke Gets in Your Eyes." And then she was accepted at the Faculty of Music. And then when she started to sing with the right technique, she improved tremendously. And then very soon she went into opera school. And Mr. Hermann Geiger Torell, who was then the director of the Canadian Opera Company, was the director of the opera school too. And then she went to opera school, and one day he told me that, Teresa, I can't teach her anything. She's so talented. She goes on stage and just did it, instinctively, the right thing. Never had to tell her anything.
The person who thought it was a special talent was Dr. Arnold Walter, Dr. Walter. He's a wonderful, wonderful man he has passed away. He was the head of the Faculty of Music. And I don't know how he ever realized in the beginning that there was a special talent there, but he gave me my scholarship, sent me to Irene Jess when I started studying.
The question of where it comes from, like Dr. Polymonaco says, somehow it's in the chromosomes, maybe from generation upon generation. Do you accept that notion? That it's almost something you have nothing to do with except to nurture it and train it further, but it's just there. It just flies into the body in a way. What do you think of that?
There's something quite incredible about the human voice. I mean, the human voice goes right back to the primal whatever it is we express with the human voice. Anguish, torment, joy, happiness, we laugh, we cry. And opera, when it's done truly well, takes these things which we can't talk about. Maybe they're too painful, or it's so much joy that you can't express it, and puts it in a... Sometimes our pain is so much that we can only... If we were to express it, we would cry out. And sometimes the emotion is so extreme that no words can contain that emotion. And only that primal scream, maybe. Only the human voice can truly, truly get to the soul or to the core of whatever it is that one needs to express. And opera takes this that we can no longer talk about because it's past talking, and allows us to express it to that nth abstract degree. That emotion that we might feel that we can't really tell someone else what it is, but sometimes you hear a phrase of music that makes you want to weep because it says it for you.
there's such a variety of, if I may say, kind of crazy lady that you seem to do. I was thinking of the Salome production. I don't know how it's possible to portray that much violence almost that you seem to have in that performance. Where do you reach to for that?
It's fierce.
Well, if I may allow myself a bit of philosophy or a bit of analyzing, I think that we all have the possibility of violence within us. But certainly I saw some degree of violence in my upbringing because of my father's, because of the problem that, that our whole family had to deal with and learn to survive, not only my father, but the whole family, because it affects the whole family, was his manic depression.
So, but in the character, Salome says at the end that love has a bitter taste. I wonder if that is something you believe yourself. It's Oscar Wilde's line, I guess, from the libretto. Love has a bitter taste, and it's Salome's last exclamation.
I don't know. I think I'm tasting it now for the first time in my life. I'll let you know in the future if it had a bitter taste.
What is it about Kurt Weill's music itself that seems to relate to you, that you seem to be able to get so inside it, do you think?
I think I'm very attracted to his my favorite composer is Mozart, and there's something about his simplicity that's undeniable. And I find that same quality in Kurt Weill.
Mozart got great humor. Do you find humor in Weill, too?
Humor?
Yeah, humor. Mozart's very funny.
Humor, but humor about, yes, life can be bad, but yes, isn't life really quite wonderful? And we should try to keep it going in that direction. And I think they both say that very well through their music. I'm not talking about texts now.
Like Kurt Weill's nostalgic song, Berlin and Light Songs, Berlin in 1928.
Damit man da alles
often he repeats a melodic line many, many times. And usually if you have a melodic line, even without the text, you are locked into one expression because the line dictates this is probably the expression. It's happy, it's sad, it's bitter, it's one of those things. Maybe, possibly two interpretations. And then you usually get the words, and it will decide if there were two possibilities with the music. The words are going to decide which is a possibility, which is the expression it's going to go. And the thing about Kurt Weill is, for instance, I'll give you an example. It's Jenny the prostitute. And she's been asked to bail out her lover by handing him over some money, giving him some money to pay some debts. And she's saying, oh no, I'll give you everything, but I know when I have to save myself. And it's a fight for survival. Right. And she has the following line that comes in the chorus of one of her songs. As you make your bed, you must lie there, and no one will care what you do. And if someone should kick, then it's me, sir. And if someone gets kicked, it will be you. Now, this line can be interpreted many ways. Bitter. As you make your bed, you must lie there, and no one will care what you do. And if someone should kick, then it's me, sir. And if someone gets kicked, it will be you. Or you could say, you know, I'm sorry, buddy. It was nice knowing you, but you know, this is the way life is. As you make your bed, you must lie there, and no one will care what you do. Or you can think, isn't it sad that that's how life is? As you make your bed, you must lie there, and no one will care what you do. So if someone should kick, then it's me, boy. Or you could say, as you made your bed like that. Your bed, you must lie there. And no one will care what you do. So I found that this recurring theme, I could interpret all those ways that a person in life would say it. And not many composers allow you that. As a matter of fact, he's the only one I can think of.
It's remarkable. Just before we leave that subject, the color of your hair has to do with Lotta Lenya, right? Because it was the role, the color of Jenny's hair and that whole thing, correct?
Well, I had my hair this color for Mahogany. I had this color also for Lulu, but the last thing was the Mahogany. And my hair was back to its dark color. But recently I went to see Lenya and have been spending a good deal of time with her. And my hair's red again. First time I saw Lotta Lenya, the first thing I saw was that we were in a rehearsal on the Met stage. And I was singing the role of Jenny. John Dexter was the director. The theater was dark. There was no one in the audience, except one person who was sitting in the middle of the audience. And John came to me and said, look out in the audience and look very, very carefully right down the middle and you'll see a shock of red hair. That's Lotta Lenya. I thought I would die. I thought I would go through this stage of the Met that the original, the Jenny of the Mahagoni, and Kurt Weill's wife and Lenya and all of the legend of Lenya was actually sitting out there, and I was supposed to be doing Jenny on the stage with the Met. It was very difficult for me. At some point, I was introduced to her, and she came to the rehearsals every day, and I would go to her and ask her what I'm doing wrong or what she would like, etc. She would always say, "Nothing, dear, just keep doing what you're doing." And I would think, oh my God, I'm so hopeless. She won't make any comment. I mean, she won't give me any of the knowledge that she carries with her. She just kept saying, "It's fine, dear. Take my hand, it's fine. Just keep doing what you're doing." Like I was, day in, day out, I was sure I must have been absolutely dreadful, because she wasn't saying it's fabulous or anything like that. She was just saying, no, I have nothing to say. I thought, she has nothing to say because I'm so far away from the right thing. Anyhow, the beginning was very, not rocky, but strange. And then we opened. And during the run of the Mahagonis, she had her assistant call me and say, "Madame Lenya would like to give you some music that has never been performed. She's always kept it locked up in the vaults, and she would like you to have it. She'd like to give you some of this music to perform. Would you come and perform a concert for Kurt Weill, memory of Kurt Weill, at the Whitney Museum?" And I went and sang these songs, and I guess Madame Lenya was very pleased, because she then went to the vaults and took everything out and gave me all the music, all the unpublished music of Kurt Weill. Oh, sorry, play me those notes? Oh, it was right, yeah? Oh, sorry, let's go back to, Du hättest zu tun. Du hättest zu tun mit der Eisenbahn und nicht zu tun mit der See. Du sagtest viel, Johnny, dein Wort war wahr, Johnny. Du hast mich betrogen. I'm sorry, Lise. This is usually spoken at this part. Let's really try to see what the melody sounds like. One of the things that has been said about me that is that people find surprising is that I went from singing this very modern music back to the standard bel canto repertoire. For instance, after having sung the Lulus in Paris, I went to Salzburg and sang Mozart, Susanna, Marriage of Figaro. And usually one does not return after a repertoire like Lulu. One does modern music where the voice is scaling all extremes. One does not go back to singing that kind of music that needs a sweet sound. I think the reason I've been able to do this is a very basic reason. It has a lot to do with my background, in that because singing isn't just singing for me, but becoming the person, then it seems like the most normal thing in the world if I'm Susanna and I'm about to be married and I'm happy and I have beautiful lines to sing them as beautifully as possible. So to bridge and go back isn't all that difficult, because I'm never confronted with, oh, how can I've become the person, so there is no problem.
Now, because you didn't think of what you were doing, everything came to life in a most extraordinary way. I mean, don't lose that. Don't let it slip out of your fingers. You got it.
I feel like it's killing me sometimes.
So what? I mean, didn't you know that when you began to be an opera singer? Right. Oh. Don't lose this magnificent moment. Huh? You're like Maria.
Only in my nerves, I'm sure.
But she pulled, she had this kind of agonies. I remember when you did the first her comeback for Tosca. She had been singing for 4 years, was it? And, at the beginning of Tosca, the tenor and Angelotti are there, and she was in the wings, ready, with this big bunch of flowers. And she said, Frank, you must be with me. Stay with me. So I was there with her, and
Where are you going to be for Bohème?
I'll be there with you.
Okay.
And I know already that you're going to cling on my hand like she did and leave your finger marks.
No, I'll have them all bitten off.
Anyway, you don't need to worry. It's wonderful. I couldn't think it could be better Bohème than Divine La Scala, but this is touching what would could be wonderful. Come on, let's go.
Mr. Carreras, Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Monk.
If people around you are calm, does that disturb you, or do you think they should all be at that kind of operatic level?
No, on the contrary, I think I've gone through most of my life trying to find an equilibrium, trying to find some kind of a balance. The great thing in Greek writing is finding the balance. All the great writers, Greek writers and philosophers said that's the key to life, is finding the balance between the light and the dark and not being any extreme. Unfortunately, I still haven't found that balance. One of the things that truly draws me to opera, if I'm being perfectly honest, is it's very comfortable to put on other people's skins for a while. I tell you, when it's not there, I'm the unhappiest person in the world. I'm living someone else's life for those 3 hours or 4 hours, though I carry mine with me all the time. A little man, a little something lives in your body, and occasionally he goes away, goes off on a trip, and he's not there. It already disturbs you that he's there, but when he's not there, it's much worse. Whatever it was that made me 100 at the age of 10 allows me to put on other people's skins and just know instinctively what they feel. I guess I do it well because of my background, because we did live a lifetime of emotions every day, and because I did live in dread and panic of what was going to happen next. All in proper perspective, Mother Teresa and the starving people in India. This summer I put a backpack on my back and put my sneakers on and took only 2 dresses with me, the one cotton dress I had on and the other one that was in my backpack. And I backpacked all the way through India, north, south, east, west, all the way through central India. Went up into Nepal, went into the Himalayas, and learned a great, great deal. One of the things I did that was a wonderful experience, for want of another word, wonderful is truly inadequate. I went to the Mission of Charity in Calcutta, and if there's a hell on earth, it has to be Calcutta. I mean, the city itself and the poverty and filth and starvation and pestilence and everything else on the streets. And you see your fellow man there, and you have so much, and they have absolutely nothing, less than nothing, dying on the streets is truly devastating. And once a person has made such a journey, I think they're never the same. I went to the Mission of Charity I wanted to make a donation, and I wanted to work in the home for the dying. And there at the top of the stairs stood Mother Teresa. I was so overwhelmed. I hadn't expected to meet her, hadn't asked to meet her. And as you can well imagine, I couldn't speak. I mean, I was just absolutely... And she realized it. She realized also that I had a need that brought me there. And she held my hand and she talked to me. I could only sort of nod my head yes and no. I could barely talk. And I think she managed to get my name out of me and a few other things, but I could barely speak. And she said, I hear you want to go to the home for the dying and work. And I said, yes. She said, I don't want you to do that immediately. I'm going to send a sister with you, and I'd like you to first go to the orphanage and spend some time there working and playing with the children, and then go to the home for sick children. And then after that, you can go to the home for the dying. And I thought that would interest me too. At that point, I didn't realize why she told me to do it that way. At the end of that experience, I certainly knew why. I think had I gone immediately into the home for the dying, I'm not sure if I would have survived that. One of the things that I realized after being in India and in the home for the dying and holding people who were dying, I mean, I held one woman, she couldn't have been 40 pounds, 45 pounds.
Did you take Carrie and everyone upstairs?
It was very evident to me that if I came home and got on the stages, on the great operatic stages of the world, and continued to donate as much of my fee as I could, that I would be helping. If my fee, if one performance fee of mine goes to Mother Teresa, that money goes a long, long way, and therefore I've helped more than just one person.
People are looking at this lady who lives in New York and sings the Metropolitan. What's she doing walking around in Nepal? They may say it doesn't make sense. How would you answer that?
I think it was one of the wisest things I've ever done. I think it makes great sense. I think it confirms for me that though I may sing at the Metropolitan Opera, there's no denying that I am my father's daughter, and he was a shepherd, a barefoot shepherd in Crete.
You said once, every time I sing Mimi, I feel a part of me has died. Can you explain why you said that? What is that? I mean, is it because it's the first? Or you don't remember?
No, I think it's... I don't know if I feel that particularly about Mimi only or about each death. I feel there's a little bit something that I leave there on the stage. A little bit something from within, I don't know.
8 minutes, please, ladies and gentlemen. Act 3 in 8 minutes.
I have a friend who says, he's a painter, and he says, it's only when I paint that the poison stops. Maybe it's only when I sing that the monster isn't looming in front of me. I don't know.
You get rid of some kind of inner madness, perhaps, in a way. Is that what you're kind of suggesting? Or maybe madness, not a nice word, but inner, you say monster. But
yes, I might very well be mad if I didn't have that, that place to channel all that energy. It's obviously a lot of energy being brought together, but it's totally consuming in that moment, so I can't tell you what I feel or... It's such a total concentration. It's the only time, almost the only time in my life that I can say that for that complete period of time, no other thoughts enter my mind. I'm not worried about anything.
Five minutes, please. Act 4 in 5 minutes.
The only time I really and truly look in the mirror is when I'm sitting there very coldly, very professionally putting on my makeup before a performance.
So when
Other than that, I sort of cringe when I'm passing a mirror and I've caught sight of myself. Maybe it's because I have become so many people, and when does one stop being when does one stop being Stratus and become Lulu, or Stratus and become Salome? Where do you draw the lines? And aren't I, when I'm doing the role of Lulu, really drawing upon my own self to portray that? On the other hand, when I'm not working and I don't have a mask or I don't have a skin to put on, I no longer know who I am. Sometimes it's been dangerous.
So who do you see?
I mean, sometimes when I have looked in the mirror in the morning, I have a total loss of identity. Because who am I? Am I the daughter of the man from the island of Crete? Or am I the one that was, born in Toronto, going to school and learning about, who was it that we learned about that I couldn't identify with at all? The one that Mary played the ball with Mary and... Who were they in our school? Mary and Jane. No, Jane, Dick and Jane. Dick and Jane could have been from Mars, or I could have been from Mars. I mean, I just didn't identify with Dick and Jane and their parents at all.
I noticed you got a few clown figures around the room. Do you link yourself with the clown somehow?
Well, I couldn't resist him. Actually, Tony Harrison bought me that one. We thought he suited us. He's ugly. We figured no one else would want him, but that he certainly would suit the both of us. And
how about the marionette figures in the trees?
This was given to me. It was made by the supers in Lulu at the Netherlands Opera. And it's supposed to be Lulu in her Pierrot, in her clown's outfit. And this is from a fan in Germany.
And there's one in the cage in the other room.
The one in the cage is there. Someone bought me that. There's a lot of very personal reasons. One of the reasons being that he felt I was a prisoner of my work.
Oh.
And of my music, and that I would never be able to escape it. As a matter of fact, when he presented it to me, he had the door slightly opened. And the point was that the clown wouldn't go out. So I keep him in the music room to remind myself that I shouldn't be a prisoner of my work, and that there are a lot more things to life.
Thank you so much.
So this is memory. Memory with music. Memory of the past, the present, and what the poet calls the perhaps, in that unique place, the stratosphere.
La
Lily